Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this annual orientation for new students in our graduate clinical programs. I want to welcome you very heartily and welcome with a bit of an apology because we had every intention of doing this face-to-face. But we will assure you that we will create the opportunity to meet each and every one of you face-to-face in the weeks to come. So welcome to the Faculty of Medical Sciences, UWI-MONA, and at the School for Clinical Medicine and Research, Bahamas. We want to welcome you and congratulate you on beginning your residency. This program today is designed to introduce you to key members of our faculty or dean and director, to expose you to services that are here to support you, to walk you through regulations, also to share a bit on the experience of residents who have been successful. So we hope that they'll drop some pearls for you. And then, as is usual, we'll have our keynote speaker. And this year, we are very happy to welcome a member of our UWI community who is going to speak to us a bit on the use of AI. So I won't take much longer, except to say it's very good to see you here. And I'm now going to hand over to our Dean at the Faculty of Medical Sciences, MONA, Professor Joseph Plummer, who is going to bring you his own welcome and remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you, Dr. Melbourne Chambers. Let me use the opportunity to welcome all members of our graduate community. I think the majority of the team here would have been members or graduates of the UA programs. But if there are graduate students who have chosen this university, having done their undergraduate training elsewhere, we especially welcome you. And just to say you have made the right choice. Certainly members who are returning at the graduate level will know that they are coming back to their alma mater and they too have made the right choice. The UE is well known for its clinical teaching, for its research and undergraduate training, but increasingly I'm proposing that we will be better known for our graduate training. And this is an emphasis that over the next 3 to 5 years, the Faculty of Medical Science will have to deepen and improve our graduate training. There's no doubt that graduate level education, a large portion of the responsibility is upon the actual residents or graduate students. And my first charge to the team is actually to take responsibility for your own education. Nevertheless, my second would be to also hold our faculty accountable. What do I mean by this? Only today at our new faculty orientation, I heard one of the leaders, the registrar, spoke of after 6 weeks of students, well, a lecturer being missing from a class, only then was it brought to the attention of the dean. They pointed out that really this should have reached higher up way before 6 weeks. And this is the second charge, to hold faculty members accountable, and therefore to recognize that in the Faculty of Medical Sciences, we do have an open door policy. All members have a responsibility to conduct and carry out their functions optimally, and we at the faculty level would like to put an emphasis on this. The third is you're young, you have several lives living at the same time you're receiving your graduate training. And importantly, research ought to be a part of your focus, especially during the first 2 years. You have made a decision for graduate training. You are going to read for your degree. You are going to practice optimally, but you're also going to get involved in research. And I'm also going to charge this group of new residents into a program to go for that case report or case series, or link with others and collaborate, join a research group in the first year of you joining any of our programs. And when the clinical research project has been approved and you have completed it, do not leave the University of the West Indies without ensuring that your clinical research project has not been submitted to a suitable journal for review for publication. I've mentioned the importance of the several lives that you are juggling at the same time that you're learning at the graduate level. And therefore, mental health checks and time offs, those are important. This is the age that we recognize the importance of those things. And the superman and superwoman, the super resident and super research student, not that we expect any reduction in your efforts, but we recognize the importance of taking time off for self and family. And this includes both physical and mental health. So seek a mentor. It doesn't have to be the person who's the academic advisor who's assigned to you. Yes, establish a relationship with your academic advisor is a prerequisite of the Faculty of Medical Science and of the university for graduate training. But there are enough members in the faculty where you can find an appropriate match as a mentor and who can help to guide your day-to-day activities. And I'll close by saying there are a few changes that you should see, changes positively that you would have heard about, and some of the things that perhaps you come into the Faculty of Medical Science at this graduate level fearing, but we are going to make them easier for you. And the first is the faculty, the academic and supportive staff will make a deliberate effort for the environment to be a softer and more supportive environment. But we also would like, well, not but, and we also would like to see our students graduate on time. It's too often that there's an additional year, and what should have been 4 becomes 5, and what should have been 7 becomes 11. We would like to see student success. It's been spoken of and achieved to a greater or lesser extent at the undergraduate level. We are no longer satisfied with a 50% success at the graduate level. We'd like to see 80% of our graduates graduate on time. So that's a part of your responsibility, but also our responsibility. And finally, I did speak of open door policy. I'll say, even at the dean's office, we do have an open door policy. So if there's any way I can assist to make this journey or this phase of your training easier, better, more successful, please feel free to reach out and let's have a conversation. Thank you and welcome back to the University of the West Indies Mona campus, Faculty of Medical Sciences. My motto is, and one I'd like to share with you, working together, we will achieve more. Thank you, Dr. Milburn Chambers.
Thank you, Dean. And I don't want to speak too much in between our speakers, but I will vouch that our dean does have an open door policy, and we in the faculty are very committed to resolving any issues that may occur, and certainly in favor of our students. So please check in with us as you need to. So thanks, Dean. I'm going to ask now Dr. Pinder Butler, or Director of the SCMR Bahamas, where we do have new residents. We consider the Bahamas a part of the MONA program. And so we have one orientation session for both sets, and our offices, our office at MONA serves both campuses. So I would like to invite Dr. Pinder Butler to bring her greetings.
Good afternoon. Are you hearing me well?
Yes, Doc, we are.
Okay. So good afternoon again to all our faculty, program directors, supervisors, and of course, our new residents to our postgraduate diploma, as well as Doctor of Medicine programs and the clinical fellowships as well. It is a delight for you to be a part of our programs at UWI, and certainly a delight for those of you that are joining us as well at the School of Clinical Medicine and Research, which is a part of the MONA FMS program. Certainly, I'm pleased to be able to have been invited by Dr. Melbourne Chambers and team to bring greetings to you on behalf as you begin this annual orientation program. And I wish to congratulate all of you for continuing along in your professional journeys, as this is truly a very important milestone. I know that most of you would have certainly been very diligent in your healthcare professional advancement, in your medical professions already. And so certainly to take this next step is a remarkable commitment. And so I know that the theme for this year's orientation program, your graduate degree, taking the next step in a transformative journey, certainly is very timely and reminds us of the importance of postgraduate education, not just really being important in the sense that you're now going to be earning an additional qualification, but certainly this particular journey, having traveled it myself, allows for transformation of your clinical practices and expertise, allows you to build yourself and strengthen your capabilities, even as it relates to leadership. And certainly as you will become specialists and experts in your fields, will allow you to be able to move from strength to strength, even in your careers. So certainly this is a very, very important milestone. And so I want to congratulate you on taking the step. Certainly we know that everything will not perhaps be a bed of roses. They say that certainly the road ahead perhaps may have challenges, but with those challenges, we want you to focus on looking at the reward at the end of the day, because it will be a rewarding experience for you. As Professor Plummer mentioned as well, we are happy to be able to be here as faculty, also the administrative support staff that are here, as well as mentors that will be able to support you along this particular step in your career development. As you are perhaps in different areas of your life. And I'm sure some of you have different responsibilities. Some of you may be parents, others may be caregivers of your family members, and you will also be working as healthcare professionals. We know that sometimes all of these various life domains can sometimes become overwhelming. And so we want you to also know that our team here are committed to supporting you through this process. We are here for you, and we certainly encourage you to reach out to your supervisors, to the mentors and advisors that are available to assist you as you go through your various programs. We also know that team building is also extremely important, and so there have been many perhaps that have experience these same processes and have trained already. And so also making sure that you uh, become a part of the teams that you will form and that you seek guidance and advice as well from some of your peers that have already gone through the specialist training so that they can also give you advice that may be able to help along your road to success. So once again, we are here to support you. Congratulations on taking on this next step towards attaining your wonderful specialist training. We look forward to assisting you with your programs. Those of you that have already been a part of UWI, we are certainly glad that you've continued along with us. And those of you that haven't, welcome to the UWI family. Congratulations again, and I look forward to having a productive and successful orientation program. And I'm sure that you will have the same. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thanks, Dr. Pinder Butler. Thanks for your warm welcome. And now, what's next on the agenda is that I will present a brief PowerPoint, just giving you an overview of the regulations. So please allow me to do that. Okay, please let me know if you can see my slides. Okay, so
Yes.
thank you. So this is just a walkthrough. I'm not going to go through the details on every slide, but I think it's just very important for us to understand that these regulations exist. And we will share the links for them and also to just assure our new students that they're there, these regulations are there to support you. Many times we get questions within the office and it's, for simple things that once you understand our regulations, you can be guided. So just starting with an overview of the governance and oversight of the graduate programs. All these clinical programs are under the direction of a specialty board. And that specialty board has a chairperson who's usually appointed by the head of department. So that specialty board's chair may be the actual head of department or maybe the program director. That specialty board then reports to the faculty subcommittee for graduate studies, and that subcommittee is chaired by the Deputy Dean Graduate Studies, who then reports to the Dean, and also through the Dean reports to the Campus Committee for Graduate Studies and Research, the chair of which is the director for the Office for Graduate Studies and Research, and currently That is Professor Marcia Roy. But all graduate programs at the UWI are under the direction and the responsibility of the Board for Graduate Studies and Research, and that is chaired by the Vice Chancellor of Graduate Studies and Research, and that is Professor Audrey Lee Henry. So the Specialty Board is, as I said, usually under the direction of a program director. And as Ordine would have said, once you come into the program, you'll be assigned to a supervisor who's a member of that specialty board. The specialty board is responsible for all matters relating to students, admissions, appointments of supervisors, monitoring of supervisors' reports, monitoring of students' progress, applications for leave of absence and electives, and in the few cases we have of withdrawals. The specialty board is also responsible for all matters relating to assessments and examinations and relating to the academic program, including regulations. And we're currently undergoing an amendment of all our regulations for the clinical programs, establishment of new courses, revision of curricula, and organization of the programs. So as I said, available online are two sets of regulations that are very of great importance to you. There's an overall graduate studies regulations, which is seen on the left of the screen, and this is a regulation for graduate certificates, diplomas, and degrees, and that is in effect. What is currently under review are the regulations for the postgraduate clinical programs. Now, these regulations, I would say the regulations that take prominence are the overall graduate studies regulations. But because there are nuances within the clinical programs, they're like addenda, special regulations for the postgraduate clinical programs. But things like leave of absence, registration, deferrals, all of those things are common for all the graduate programs. So this is a little bit of a bugbear for us because every year we get people coming up to exams who are not registered, cannot access the examination, etc. And it's just to remind you that yes, even as a resident, you're a resident, but you are a student in the DM program of the university. And so you are required to register for each semester. And that registration is usually the first week of semester one, and late registration is allowed up to the end of the third week of semester one and semester two. Okay, so there are two semesters. Semester one beginning at the end of August to December, semester two, January to May. And right now, I think we're in the summer semester, which is not really applicable to us as residents because, you know, we go all year through. So you must register for semester one and semester two. Now, in terms of leave of absence, it's important to know that the clinical programs do not allow for more than 6 weeks of leave of absence in any 1 year. And when you're applying for leave of absence, this must be done to the campus committee by a very formal process, which involves writing, requesting the leave of absence to the chair of your specialty board, but also for applying for that leave of absence online on SAS. So in terms of the clinical students, as I was saying, that the DM student must spend 46 weeks each year in the program. Therefore, they can have a total of 6 weeks of leave per annum. And where the leave requested exceeds 6 weeks, the student is advised and should apply for leave of absence for that semester. Because if the student proceeds on leave for more than 6 weeks, they would have been considered not to have fully met the program's requirements, and so they'd have to repeat 6 months. So if you apply for a semester's leave of absence, that is not counted within the duration of your program. But if you don't and you have to extend your program for 6 months, then of course that is counted. So you really want to tidy things up and do things properly. We have the matter of progress reports, where the supervisor is required to meet with the student at least once per year. Within our faculty, we say at least once per semester, to discuss the student's progress and to complete a supervisor's report, which is done biannually. So these in-course assessments of the student's performance are carried out by the supervisor or module leader at the end of each module, so each rotation, but submitted every 6 months. And these reports are transmitted through the head of department and the Faculty Committee for Graduate Studies to the Campus Committee for Graduate Studies. This is now an online process, so your supervisor is required to commence this report. Once the supervisor has commenced the report and submitted it, then once you are properly and duly registered, the student is notified of the report. They're required to review the report. Hopefully they will do this with the supervisor, sign off on the report, and once that's done, it goes to the head of department, then to the director of graduate studies and research, but the deputy dean is copied. And so this process, which occurs every 6 months, should occur no later than January 31 and June 30, respectively. So the student must be registered to be able to see these reports. So everything hinges on the student's registration. In terms of these reports, as we said, the supervisor will be a member of the specialty board, but if the assessments are found to be unsatisfactory, the specialty board may recommend one or more of the following, including counseling and remedial work, repeat of unsatisfactory rotations, and an academic warning in writing with a second failure. But if you have a third supervisor's report, that's a third 6-month report that is unsatisfactory, you may be required to withdraw from the program. We don't want to get there. Now, as part of the requirement for completion of the program, depending on the program, you're required to either do a book of cases, usually the surgical programs, or a clinical research project. And more, we're moving towards this clinical research project. So these are to be submitted to the program coordinator 6 months before the written examination, that's before the DM2, as the acceptance of the project is a prerequisite to proceed to the final DM2 examination. These books are now, and projects are now submitted electronically and must be accompanied by a certificate of completion and the Turnitin report. That certificate of completion was amended just this year to include a statement as to whether or not AI was used. So we do recognize that artificial intelligence is a tool that can be used to enhance, or research or data analysis, presentation, etc. And the university is not saying it's not to be used, but when it's used, it must be declared. The work must be checked using the Turnitin software by both the student and the supervisor before it's submitted, and must be signed as being accepted by the supervisor before it's submitted. And we say this to say that it's very unfortunate when these projects come to our office with a high degree of similarity, because it then raises the flag for plagiarism. The submission dates for these are for residents sitting the May-June examinations. The final submission date to the office is December 15. So there may be internal processes within the programs that require even an earlier submission date. So I know for a program with which I'm a part of, the pediatrics program, our actual submission date is in October to allow internal processes that allow for the submission to grad studies by December 15. And for residents sitting the November-December examinations, the final date for submission to the graduate studies office is June 15. There is an exception to this in the family medicine regulations, but I do believe they're amending their regulations and their program to come in line with the timelines for the other DMs. Plagiarism, just want to make you aware, we know about it. It's the unacknowledged use of words, ideas, or creations of another, and includes situations where the student reuses without acknowledgement their own previously written text, ideas, or creations when writing any new work. So level 1, small quantities of the work are affected and the breaches are minor. But level 2, large quantities of the work are affected and the breaches are serious. It includes cases in which a significant amount of material is borrowed or directly quoted or cosmetically paraphrased with no attribution at all, or the attribution is insufficient to indicate that the borrowed material is not the work of the student. We don't want to see these come into our office because I cannot turn a blind eye to a degree of plagiarism that is cited by Turnitin as level 2. Probably not so applicable to us here, but the dean is encouraging the publication of case reports even while in the program. And you just have to be aware that you can self-plagiarize. So if your work has been published and you have included that in your thesis or clinical research project or casebook without the appropriate reference and attribution, then that you can plagiarize yourself. So just to let you know about that. We do work with programs to try and fix these books, but where large amounts of, data that is very similar, if it's a huge copy and paste, we have seen cases, and the software keeps a record of previous students' work. So especially with casebooks, we don't want any lifting of a case that was previously done by another student word for word. All right, so we have the electronic vetting of plagiarism by the university, and the Turnitin is the software the university uses, and that's what we just have to work with. I would say, though, that this software is also picking up on the likelihood of AI use. And so, as I said, it's not that it's discouraged, but we're imploring you to, in your submissions, just to state when, how, and how AI was used in the preparation of your reports. Almost finally, residents in the DM program are required to sign a code of conduct that all your program directors have. And so I hope in your program's orientation sessions that these have been distributed so that we may collate them. Our faculty has put out this year, there is a supervisor's manual for all graduate programs. But as we said, the DM programs and clinical programs are a little bit different. So our faculty has put out this year an addendum to that manual, which is a supervisor manual for the postgraduate clinical programs at our campus. And we will share this with you in due time. Just to say that all of this information is available online. So get familiar with our university's webpage, with our postgraduate page, And one of our goals in this coming academic year is to really improve on our faculties or graduate studies information on our faculty's webpage. You can hold us to that. But these are resources that are available to you, and we encourage you to use them. So I want to end by just saying I hope this was useful. We are here to answer your questions, and we just want to wish you all the very best on this very important and exciting new academic journey. Thank you. Okay, are there any quick questions and answers before we move on to our other speakers? Quick questions. Okay, so if not, let's just see what's in the chat. Okay, so if not, we'll go, okay, let's see. All right, so is the commitment fee covered by our sponsor, or is it something we pay on our own? I think there are various models for that. Attendee, so I cannot address that broad brush, but what I'll say is that the registration for semester 1 is not yet open. Semester 1 starts, I think, at the end of August. So we're now in the summer semester, but we know that the DM programs have started, so the time has started. So really it applies for things like leave. You can have, we count any leave that is taken at any time during the year as leave from the program. Does leave at the hospital need to be done simultaneously with leave from the program? What I would say is that the program director and head of department should keep a record of leave taken at your institution. And it is when that leave exceeds 6 weeks that it now comes to the graduate studies subcommittee and the Office for Graduate Studies and Research, because now you would have to take leave from the program for a semester. So once it's below that 6-week threshold, then that is managed internally. And so not every leave that is applied for from the hospital comes to the Graduate Studies office. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions, but you can feel free to put them in the Q&A and I'll try and answer as we go along. But so that we don't hold up the program too much, I'm going to move ahead now to warmly welcome Dr. Jasneth Mullings. Dr. Mullings is a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Medical Sciences. She is acting as our Deputy Dean for Research at this time, and she is going to speak to us on a program and tools created to support all the faculty, but particularly our students, and that is the Clinical Translation Research Unit. So I'm welcoming you, Dr. Mullings.
Thank you, Dr. Melbourne Chambers. I assume I'm able to share a screen.
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to
think
go ahead and do so. All right. And a warm welcome to all the students present this afternoon. I heard the Dean welcome you back to the institution for many persons, and I just want to support that welcome. So I am Jasneth Mullings, and what I will share with you this afternoon is some of the support mechanisms we have in place in the faculty and introduce you to my unit, the Clinical Translational Research Unit of the FMS. So administratively, where we sit in the CTRU is in the Office of the Dean under the direction of the Deputy Dean of Research. So this is us in bright yellow here, and as you can see from this organogram, you know, all the various departments and schools and offices and such within the FMS. So when you hear the term translational research. This slide is really just to enlighten you on what that means. So basically, what we're talking about is the cascade of research and evidence building that starts in basic sciences at the bench in the laboratories, that translate all the way to clinical practice, to program and policy implementation. And it goes through various phases, but that is in the main what we're talking about, starting from basic research all the way to programs, therapeutics, and other diagnostics, and programs that can improve health for the population. So in the CTRU, we do a number of things in terms of services, but I'm going to focus on research capacity training, where postgraduate work is concerned. So we do support the faculty in terms of capacity training on research and research processes. And I also just want to highlight knowledge management and dissemination, because that is the end goal of translational research and translational practice, to share knowledge and translate to policy and practice. So I'm going to really focus where, in terms of the purple pathway for you this afternoon. So competency is key in anything. And of course, based on the work that you're doing, it's very skills intensive, and so is research, and competency is where we want you to have the various skills. So our focus is really to scale up research skills development in the faculty, such that we can support the research mandate of the UWI. So you're coming in as a postgraduate student and asking yourself the question, possibly, where am I going to be starting? So overall, this is just an overview of the road ahead. So of course, the goal for both yourselves as well as the faculty and administration of the UWI is for you to successfully complete your program. On that pathway, there are going to be some requirements. Teaching and learning, of course, is very critical. The assessments that attend those as well, which include projects, specifically research projects. So part of the process is that you will be assigned from an administrative level and a technical level, a supervisor will guide you through your research work. You'll be required to develop your research proposal and to conduct your research as well as report on your research, be it whether a case report or clinical research. So in summary, not going to go through this slide in much detail, but here is the end goal. The end goal really is for you to be able to ask a research question, to be able to answer that research question appropriately and accurately. So much of this, these intervening steps are going to be the training and the sensitization and the tools and the materials that we will share with you. But that's the main aim. Ask a question, answer it appropriately, and answer it accurately. So what's involved in your experience to come? So as mentioned before, you will be assigned a research supervisor. But here is where it gets very important. Your department, we're in the process right now of discussing with departments to really finalize and hone in on the research theme of the department, or themes, because there are multiple themes that each department may be involved in. But when you get to that stage, when you're thinking of your research question and what the area that you want to focus on, it's very important to identify what your department's research themes are. It's from these research themes that you will devise your topic, and hence your research topic must be linked to your department's key research themes and focus. Why is this important? What's the logic behind it? It enables the department and yourself as well to develop continuous expertise and growth in a particular areas. That's one. Secondly, it allows for focused resources for development in a particular area or areas. So from a management perspective, from a development perspective, it really makes sense to have your research intertwined into the faculty's or your department's research theme and focus. And who knows, many of you may become faculty yourselves down the road. So it allows as well for business continuity, for you to continue that work if you should so desire. So your research study must be developed around the department's theme or department's focus. And we have been in the process of just, scanning the environment and looking at some of the research themes that we see in terms of what's happening in the departments. and some of the focal areas that I've included here. So what we're asking departments now to hone in on, what are the general topics that they can use now to guide you to develop your specific research topics? And that specific research topic is something that you'll discuss with your research supervisor. Come to a really finite topic, and then you will proceed doing your research around that. So there are some themes that are in draft at present, and as soon as the departments have finalized those, it's important and imperative that they're going to make those available to you so that you will be guided on the areas for potential focus. What is also going to be involved is our FMS Research Studies Toolkit. So this is, Dr. Melbourne Chambers mentioned this earlier, and this toolkit is available online. It's available on the FMS website, and the link is there. We want you to look at this toolkit in detail. It is titled Design to Publication, a Practical Guide, and that's what it really is. It takes you through the various stages of the research that you will proceed on, and it's going to be an important part of your training, an important part of the support materials that are made available to you. So there are training videos and seminar recordings that we'll also make available to you. Those are already online. And the toolkit really, as I mentioned before, is a practical guide. What's important? Professor Plummer mentioned, the responsibility of the candidates in terms of, taking this work that you're embarking on very seriously and being very proactive. So on the curriculum end, we, refer to that as self-directed learning. That's one of the reference themes. So this is where, you're going to be having materials that you're going to have to read for the degree, as he mentioned. And this is going to really help you in that endeavor. Just as a note, this particular iteration of the toolkit really focuses on quantitative research procedures, but we do recognize the important interplay of qualitative research in much of the work that we do. So here are the 7 key elements of the toolkit: research conceptualization. So this is where you begin to think about your research idea and begin to frame it into an actionable research topic. The full proposal that you will develop and submit to ethics. Of course, the field work, you have to gather the data, collect the data. Moving on to data management, you have to, once you collect the data, you have to enter the data, clean it, validate it, and so on, manage the whole data process before you proceed to your analysis, from which you write your report or your thesis, and then, of course, publication. And that's something that we're putting a lot of emphasis on for, this academic year in terms of publication. Or postgraduate students, I'll explain to you a little bit further in my presentation how valuable you are to the FMS research enterprise. So these are the 7 key elements that are covered in the toolkit. So there are supplementary materials, your modularized toolkit. We have a video masterclass series, slides, and a research template, which is very useful. So once we get into the training component, I'll export you to that. And it really gives you a step-by-step guide as to what you're going to need in terms of the various pieces and bits of information to develop your research proposal. What we are exploring is that because we have this modularized in our video masterclass series, we're exploring the issue of having you complete completion certificates for each module that you complete. And this will be, the idea is that your supervisors will, require you to attend the virtual sessions, view the videos, participate in an online assessment process from which a certificate of completion will be generated for each module. So we're in this discussions with graduate studies around this area. So this is just showing you what the YouTube playlist is for all the 7 elements of the research toolkit. Those are on the slide here. And also what will be involved is additional training opportunities. So what we're setting up for this academic year is what we're calling our CTRU Research Learning Labs program. And we'll take you through the 7 steps, from conceptualization to, doing your literature review and your methods, et cetera, analysis, and so on. So once that schedule is developed, you'll hear more about that. So also what is going to be involved, once you prepare your research proposal, it should be submitted for ethical review. So our Mona Research Ethics Committee, which is based on the Mona campus, it may be that you have a singular submission just to the Mona Ethics Committee, or depending on what you're doing, you may be submitted to multiple ethics committees. So let's say, for example, you're going to Mandeville and you're going to be doing work in, some of the hospitals or health centers there. Then there are regional ethics committees with the Ministry of Health that you'll be required to submit in a case like that to the Mona Ethics Committee, as well as the regional, which will be the Southern Regional Ethics Committee. So just to point that out to you. So it depends on how extensive your work is and the location, the sites that you're going to be doing your work. So importantly, the Mona Ethics Committee, Mona Campus Research Ethics Committee also has a toolkit titled Guidelines for Preparing Your Research Proposal. It's a handbook. So you can go to the site and pick that up and get familiar with that as well. So now to talk a little bit about the research support structures we have in the faculty. So if I start from the apex of this pyramid, your closest ally on this journey will be your research supervisor. We also have departmental support personnel through our research liaison officers, your heads of departments, and so on. And as Diplomas said earlier, it's an open door policy, so we really encourage persons to interface and interact at the different levels. So I've put research resources, CTRU, right smack dab in the middle there, and I've explained some of what we will be doing in my earlier slides. But you also would be important for you to understand a little bit about our Research Support Fund and our Research Advisory Board. These are very recent structures that have been introduced. So I'll start with the Research Advisory Board, which was ratified in March of this year, just a few months ago. And what are the objectives of this board? The board aims to strengthen research productivity and our international competitiveness as a faculty, increase our research funding, grant income, to enhance interdisciplinary research and collaboration, while promoting ethical and responsible research practice, and very importantly, where you come in, to strengthen our research training and development of emerging researchers. And that's exactly how we see you, emerging researchers for the future. And we really want to strengthen your capacity to do so. Our FMS Research Support Fund, the Dean launched this back in April. Again, these are very recent additions to the whole template of the structures around research in the faculty. And you'll see I highlight here in the red box a focus on postgraduate students and early career researchers. So what we really will be looking for in terms of proposals are proposals that present practical solutions to significant challenges, whether clinically or at the public health level. Those kind of proposals or research that demonstrate the potential for increasing science, knowledge, practice, or policy, clinically or at the public health level. We strongly encourage multidisciplinary research. And in terms of the structure of the fund, we have three basic levels. Postgraduate level is one, then our early career researchers, and then our experienced or seasoned researchers. And as you see, we have you as tier one. You're very important to us. We want to be able to facilitate the conduct of your research. Again, you're not doing this on your own. You're doing this with the support of your supervisors. So I just want to highlight something for you in terms of specifically for the DM projects. These projects are not eligible for campus graduate studies funding. So, just keeping that in mind, that the Research Support Fund may very well be a very useful avenue for you in terms of the development of your work. And as I mentioned before, we do have you as a very important partner in the research enterprise of the FMS. So just for you to understand how you engage with the CTRU, this is what the process looks like. So as I mentioned before, in terms of research support structure, your research supervisor is going to be your strongest ally here. Your research liaison officer in the department, each department has one, some have more than one, and that provides support for you as well as faculty. So you really, at any point, interface with the CTRU comes through your research supervisor or your liaison officer. if at some point there is need for resources that we might not have within our immediate remit, we are a very small unit. We will try to draw on those resources from our consultant network in terms of our third point of contact. So you really come to the CTRU through your research liaison officer or directly through your research supervisor. That's what the engagement process looks like. And I want to close the last couple of slides just to highlight to you that postgraduate student development is a priority research investment strategy for the FMS. In aiming to build research talent and faculty development, as I mentioned before, you form a very important core of our faculty research enterprise. And many of you, we will expect and hope to see you as faculty members in the future. So we really are aiming to develop people, to develop systems, as well as infrastructure. So your research skills development is going to be critical. Publication support, as well as conference participation, because that exposes you to what's happening out in the world and for you to share your work with other colleagues of yours in other institutions across the globe. We also, have focusing on our early career faculty. And as I mentioned before, and I will mention several times that we hope to see many of you, emerge as faculty members down the road, if some of you already are not. In terms of proposal development, grant writing support, mid-career faculty, leadership training, and of course our senior faculty in terms of research leadership and mentorship. So we really have you as priority in this FMS template. And why? Why would that be so? What's the logic behind that? If you look at just by sheer numbers and volumes and capacity, you really form the foundational capacity for training and development and research productivity within the FMS research enterprise. There are roughly about 1,000 students at last count enrolled, registered in the 2025-26 academic year. And if you scale up the pyramid or early mid-career faculty, those are early and mid-career faculty, those are the persons who you'll find as your program directors, they are your supervisors, they are leading the research programs, they're supervising, and they're publishing. Faculty, senior faculty are also publishing, and based on how we're focusing them in terms of research mentorship, providing mentorship to early and mid-career faculty, as well as the students. And at the senior level, in terms of policy and leadership and programs and research governance, and I mentioned the Faculty Research Advisory Board as one example here. So you really, if you look at this structurally, you are a very, very essential part of the research enterprise of the faculty, and we want to ensure that you have the capacity and you receive the necessary training and development for this enterprise to really work. So that's the CTRU in a little more than a nutshell. And as just to focus or where we go in terms of providing resources, support, and direction for your research journey. And we, as Prof. Plummer mentioned, this is an open door policy across the FMS in terms of the leadership on programs and research. And we want to encourage you to reach out to us should you have any particular issues and concerns as you embark on your journey. We want you to reach out to us. And I just want to close by wishing you a very productive journey, a safe journey, and an enlightened journey along the FMS. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mullings. So what I'm going to do is encourage us to just move ahead with the agenda. So we're not here sitting for too long, but encouraging our attendees to write those questions in the Q&A. We can all see them, and we're happy to answer them as we go along or towards the end of the afternoon. So at this time, it is my great pleasure to welcome two persons who are key personnel in our faculty. They are our personal and professional development officers. They serve our faculty, all our students, both undergrad and graduate students, and they have made the offer to us, especially in graduate studies, to assist our students to navigate this part of their academic journey with all the support that is required to be successful at the end. And so I think presenting today will be Dr. Georgia Satchwell. I don't know if she's added another name to the end of that name. I think
Not
so.
yet. And
Not
thanks for speaking the doctor into being. I know Dr.
okay.
Harrison is cheering you.
But welcome. Where are you
Thank
in
you.
Germany?
I'm downstairs actually.
Okay, welcome home. All right.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Please go ahead.
All right, everyone. Hi, I'm Georgia Satchwell, and I work with Christina Walker, and we like to call ourselves your wellness elves. So we have the awesome responsibility of supporting students within undergrad and postgrad with their personal, professional, and I'm adding wellness as you go through your graduate level program here with us at the UWI and within the FMS. But before going into what we do, I just want to take a moment to big you guys up because oftentimes I know a lot of type A students are within FMS. And when I say this, it's complimentary. You guys just want to get to the end, and when you achieve these wicked milestones, sometimes we all forget to pause without taking a moment to reflect on when you were applying to UE. For those of you who attended UE, those of you who are new with us within FMS, welcome to UWI Mono, welcome to the faculty of medical sciences at the UWI Mona, and I know that other campuses are here as well. Sometimes we tend to forget when we really wanted to be at this stage. And sometimes we just want to go full speed ahead. So, congratulations on achieving this massive milestone in your academic and your overall career goals. All right. Don't forget to pause. All right. I'm not going to do a lecture, an in-depth presentation, but I just want to take a moment to just say that personal and professional development, and I'm adding the wellness aspect of it, is really an ongoing process. It's something that you do or you should be doing daily. You're reflecting on your strengths, you're reflecting on the areas that you want to improve on, you're reflecting on your personal resources or lack thereof, right? And you're aligning those things with your goals and your mission and your future plans. And so that might look like for you if you're in the hospital setting and you're practicing a clinical skill that is a part of your core clinical competence that you know you're not mastering or you're struggling to master, the personal and professional development and reflective process therefore calls on you to kind of say to yourself, I didn't know how to answer the question that the consultant asked me. And instead of internalizing that limitation in that moment, being well-rounded, and this is what our department or our office is here for you to do, is to help you to sit with it, to identify that area of potential growth and to reflect to kind of draw on the resources around you to see how you can become more aligned with that self that you're trying to create. So essentially, we're helping you to be the best that you can be, and that best looks different for everybody, and your most capable self, right? So images, all that means is that we just work with students to think, feel, and do better. And note that better here is in quotations, really, because better is one, at UE, we have standards for what those competencies should look like. But as you go along the way, you're going to have to define what that better and best looks like for you. So, what our office really does here is to help you to transition to adjust.
So it's adjustment and transitional support and management, right? And you're going to have to define what that looks like and feel like for you. Academic performance support, career exploration and planning, interpersonal and intrapersonal skills. So what you feel like, what you're looking like inside, and also how the dynamic between you and the teams that you're working on, that you're working with. Your mood. Some people struggle, most people have some disruptions with their mood along the way. That's completely normal. But when it becomes atypical, that's when you're coming in and you're wanting some support to function well. And we also coordinate management of mental health issues, whatever that may look and feel like for some of you guys. And just to say that if you guys are struggling and have any mental health issues that have been diagnosed formally, don't sit down and struggle in your programs. You don't have to do that. Come in, find a trusted member of staff or peer and seek out the support, because support looks and feel very different for a lot of people, right? So that is what we do within our faculty, right? Some of the issues that you guys may experience is that one, definitely, there's going to be stress. Stress is just a natural and normal part of life and challenges, right? But if you're not coping well with the stress, then you may need some support. You're going to be tired. That's normal. You're doing an extraordinary task. It's like you're learning a new language, studying medicine and anything in the medical sciences. Certainly for me, when I look at it, is you're basically training your brain to think in an extraordinary way under pressure most of the time. That is extraordinary, and extraordinary things require some level of pop-downness. But instead of blaming and judging your body for being tired, you can plan strategies to perk yourself up. Because guess what? And those of you who have attended undergrad know that I'm always saying that motivation is not constant, it's not guaranteed. Your deodorant is not meant to be lasting seven days. You have to apply it every day. And so motivation is something just like confidence as well, that you get up and you're actively participating in those aspects. And those are the tools that you're going to be using when you go into the clinical spaces and the research spaces. Imposter syndrome is going to be there, right? It's always there, right? And so if it's overbearing, then you know you need some support. Anxiety, also part of healthy range of human experiences to feel. But if your anxiety is always present, right, then you need to know, then you need some support to kind of figure out what is when it's healthy and when it's not, right? And so you're gonna face with a lot of issues when you're studying. As was mentioned earlier, some of you are moms, your dad, your caretakers, you're stretched doing this project, emphasis on the project of doing your postgrad or graduate level studies is another extension of yourself. It's not who you are per se. And so you will have a lot of other responsibilities that you're managing simultaneously while learning how to do something extraordinary, right? And so with that comes a lot of moment where a lot of clashes will or would possibly arise. And so it is your responsibility to know where the resources are within the spaces that you are so that you can perform at your optimal level. There is a TED Talk, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the TED Talk series at the time. And there is this very significant TED Talk that I listened to one morning as I was getting ready. And it talked about the 5 key people that you need in your life to be successful. And so this lady, Stacey Flowers, she talked about going to a Beyonce concert, and then she was talking about the 5 key people that along the way of becoming successful at getting a free Beyonce concert, the 5 key people that she recognized that she needed at her stage in life, wherever she was, to be happy. And she talked about having a cheerleader. And in that discourse, she mentioned that the cheerleader is somebody that believes in you unconditionally, right? They believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself. And I think everybody needs a cheerleader as well. You also need a mentor. The mentor is an expert. They have invaluable advice. They've done what you've done before. And so they're guiding you along the way. We all need mentorship. And my advice is to have more than one mentor, right? We need a coach. You need a coach. The coach is not your friend. The coach is going to make you feel uncomfortable, a bit uncomfortable, not too much. But most importantly, they're honest, they're safe, and they're having the difficult conversations with you. And this may look like that you want to be the best medical practitioner or researcher that you could possibly be, but you're not performing as well in an area that is a core deliverable to be defined as the person that you're trying to be. Your coach is going to have that conversation with you, help you to explore what's making it difficult for you to align yourself with the outcome that you're trying to be, and they're going to try and get you along that path. You need a friend. A friend and a mentor and a cheerleader, they're not the same person. And sometimes they overlap. But your friend is that safe person. They have your back no matter what. And they're also honest with you as well. And you need a peer. And your peer may not be your friend. Your peer is going through the struggles with you. They're doing the program with you. They're in your class. They're having the same challenges with you. They have insight. And so these are the 5 people that were identified that if you want to be successful, and when we look at people who are successful, they all have a component of these persons. They might not be defined formally, but they're present in the person's life who are successful. We help students academically, emotionally, and socially. And so we help you to find these people in the spaces that you're occupying. And so we offer group support, so you can come into webinars that we have, but we also have one-on-one sessions. And in the one-on-one sessions, there are really no limits to what students bring to the spaces. People come to us if they're sad, if they're happy. Some people book the session to have lunch one time with me, just because they just needed to have lunch with somebody at one time. We're flexible, right? And if you need a referral, that referral would be given within that space. The one-on-one sessions are private and they're confidential, right? And so that looks like if your head of program referred you to the service, we're not going to be telling the head of program that you've come or not attended the session unless you've signed to that effect, right? And so if you were referred to the service and you did not come, we probably won't follow up with you because we respect your right not to engage. Because maybe you're engaging with somebody off campus, that is all okay. The PPDO and Wellness Service is an additional resource support system that you have within the faculty to support you, right? And so no issue is too small, right? And no one is too strong or too independent to need support. So I'm one of the wellness officers or PPDO officer, and this is what Miss Walker looks like. I'm not sure she's still here. I know she has a conflicting schedule today. You can reach out anytime. You can reach out to us via email. You can reach out to us through your peers, you can reach out through us through using the QR codes that are strategically placed in your libraries and on the notice board throughout the faculty on all the levels. All of the notice boards have our QR codes, which you can scan and make an appointment at your convenience. If you're trying to make an appointment and the options that are there are not aligned to your schedule, send me an email, send Miss Walker an email, and we'll problem solve together. Thank you. And that was my very short presentation. And I wish you guys all the best and have a wonderful academic year.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Satchwell. Okay, so we're now moving ahead. We're getting there. Don't worry. I hope people are falling off because of connectivity and not that we're weary. So we're going to go straight ahead. And we have two of our new graduates who have agreed to come and just reflect for a brief period on their academic journey in residency. So I'm going to introduce them both, and then we'll probably start with Dr. Dorman, who is a newly qualified specialist physician in internal medicine. She completed her Doctor of Medicine degree at the UMONA in June 2026. Having successfully navigated the intensive demands of senior residency, she deeply understands the unique pressures and milestones of postgraduate training. She's a passionate medical educator, and she joins us today to share firsthand insights on how to balance rigorous frontline clinical care with academic success. We always like to balance it now with, we know that we have graduate students in the laboratory specialties. So I'm pleased to welcome as well Dr. Anya Gordon-White. She's MBBS class of 2017, and she was class president during her time in medical school. Dr. Gordon-White started the DM pathology program in 2020 and was chief resident in pathology in her final year. She completed the program in the recent 2026 DM examinations and allow us to congratulate them on their success and invite them now to give short reflections on their journey. We'll start with Dr. Dorman.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are hearing me clearly. I'm going to share my slides. Okay, just let me know if you are seeing and hearing me clearly. Seeing my slides and hearing me clearly, please.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, perfect. So it's my distinct honor and pleasure to, from the perspective of one who has gone through the DM in internal medicine residency program, to share some unique insights in terms of how to survive the program and keeping your eyes on the goal, which is to successfully complete. And so I've entitled my reflections Journey to the DM. So I just want to reiterate all of the congratulations to all of my colleagues here. I just want to acknowledge the presence of the Deputy Dean, Dr. Melbourne Chambers, and also, I'm not sure if Prof. Plummer is still on, but I want to acknowledge his presence as well, and all other distinguished members of the Faculty of Medical Sciences and colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity, and welcome to the new candidates of the postgraduate programs. So surviving and thriving in the DM, there are many lessons to be learned from having gone through the trenches of internal medicine. I would say internal medicine is perhaps one of the more grueling postgraduate programs. I think this isn't probably just a biased perspective, but certainly our hours are very long and hard, grueling. But welcome for those of you who are coming into residency, and welcome also to the forge. So this is where you are going to enter into high stakes, high reward specialist training. You're learning how to transition from being a medical officer to a clinical leader. And this is where your clinical acumen is refined to be excellent. And this is as you navigate the clinical setting of the wards. It is quite grueling, but this is what's necessary to bring you to that place of being established as an expert in your field. So do not, be prepared rather to enter the file. But don't worry, you'll survive. So how do you survive? So you need to establish a strong network. None of us is as smart as all of us. So isolation is the quickest path to burnout, and you have to engage with subspecialty areas across the board, specialty and subspecialty areas across the board. Don't be afraid to make friends with the surgeons. One day you'll need to have someone you can call on quickly. And if you burn your bridges too early, you're going to make your tenure in the program very, very difficult. So make allies quickly. Normalize asking for help from your team members and support if you need it. And I just want to indicate that there is I think, a unspoken code of conduct that for those who do well in residency and those who end up establishing strong relationships and are well loved and liked by many, you have to learn how to deal with your own personal responsibilities coming into the program and learn how to work as part of a team and really a family. You may end up spending more time with your colleagues than your own family members. And I think many of us, having gone through these programs, would have to attest to the reality of that. It's sad sometimes because we don't necessarily treat each other like family. But or if you approach your colleagues as family members, work family now, then you'll treat them well. Teamwork makes the dream work. It doesn't matter the patient load or the particular stress academically that's in front of you. If you have a good rapport with your colleagues, you'll get through it together. So don't be selfish. Do not hoard good resources, high yield information, past papers, resources for us include things like MKSAP and, other international MCQ question banks. Many of us have access to each other's question banks, and that's very useful at the time of examination, exam preparation. Try not to hide crucial information, especially close to exam time. That will just negatively color the atmosphere at a very crucial time. You share, others will feel willing to share as well, and that just helps all of you be your best at the time when you're being examined. Step in immediately if you see where one of your peers are drowning or if they're overwhelmed. And your colleagues are your lifelong professional lifeline. So when you are eventually finished, many of these who either they're in your batch or before or after you will be the ones who you'll end up calling upon, making referrals to. They'll also be making referrals to you, and you're building a strong professional network. So treat people well, it will serve you in the future. So self-care is necessary because the demands of the program are great. And if you're not careful, you put your own well-being at the bottom of the list. And I'm really glad to hear about the emphasis on reaching out to support services like the professional development officers, which I must admit, I'm pleasantly surprised to hear about it. I don't recall hearing about it when I was in the program, but I know many of myself and many residents would benefit from that kind of support system. And so I'm glad to hear that emphasized. Make good use of it. An exhausted resident is a liability. to patient care, to the team dynamics, and to the department. So remember that you have a duty to self. You will engage in many ethics conferences, and you will start to hear about when the MPS representatives come and speak to you about having a duty to self. If you're burnt out, you're feeling exhausted, you're not able to make decisions well, you have to know when to hand over and when to check out. Master the art of handing over and leaving the work at the gate. I know, especially for medicine, that's hard because many times you're waiting on the potassium or the creatinine or the hemoglobin, and you want to know if ICU saw your patient and did they make it through the night. That's just our empathy and our compassion, attention to detail shining forth. But if we take home all the work with us, there's no clear, healthy boundaries. And so you are carrying the burden of work with you. And that is not sustainable in the long run. Upgrade what you fuel yourself with. I must say that I learned at the latter part of the program, prioritizing just simple things like fruits and veg over junk food. Coffee seems to be something that some people just thrive on. Wasn't for me, nor energy drinks. Maybe around the time of exams, you might need a little bit of a boost, but try not to feed on that. It'll take a toll on your body in the long run. And know when to reach out for counseling. I think that has been emphasized already. And so protect your identity, guard your peace. So schedule your rest time with the same kind of rigor as clinic days. We have a 40-hour work week that has been in force. And so make the most of those days that you are not expected to be in active clinical duty. Yes, you can use those times to refresh your reading and, organize your study schedule and so on. Definitely get some reading in, but also have a day to check out of all academic responsibilities and enjoy life, because you have to guard who you are, and don't lose yourself in the identity of the program itself. Yes, you are training to be an internist or a consultant in a particular specialty area, but you are first perhaps a daughter, son, husband, wife, mother, father. You are a church member. You have to remember who you are before you even entered the program and have that as an anchor. I did have protect your sleep schedule. Goes without saying. I know it's hard to do that, especially in the exam season, but certainly before that, sleep hygiene is important. Finding healthy work-life balance is necessary. Do that aggressively. Prioritize your faith and spirituality. For some, this may be prayer, meditation on the word, reintegrating with your church family. Seek out fellowship opportunities. These are the support beams that personally have helped me to maintain my sanity in the midst of the grueling demands of the program. And it really helped to build the core of who I was in the midst of some of the issues in the program. So sometimes life happens, even with your best of efforts, delays and or failure do not define you. I think many of us may have different things happening either before you started the program. Things may happen in the midst of the program, loss of family members, illness in the family, major milestones like marriage or starting your family. Many of my colleagues, more power to them, have gotten married and had their children while in the program. They are literally superwomen. But these can also cause your program completion date to be pushed back. And that can be disappointing for a number of different reasons, but delayed is not denied. Yes. So major exams come with the possibility of failure. And especially at this level, I think someone said we are type A personality. we have type A personalities, so we don't know what failure is. Many of us are coming in as the brightest of, our cohorts in the past. And so entering into a situation where you may have to face the reality of failure can be quite devastating. I know from personal experience and close colleagues who also have experienced failure at different levels, and it can cause you to really doubt yourself and shake your confidence. But this is where you have to hold on, don't give up. Temporary setbacks are just that, temporary. Regroup, find out where your blind spots are, and refine your approach. And there's always a set of support systems there for those of you who might need to go through the resit process. Don't be afraid to reach out to your consultants, your colleagues. You would be surprised, more persons are on your side than you realize at multiple levels, rooting for you, probably silently or in the shadows, but the majority of the persons around you would like to see you succeed, inclusive of your direct supervisors, your program directors, etc. Don't be afraid to reach out to them about how to regroup and do better at the next sitting. It happens to the best of candidates. Failure doesn't define who you are, and it certainly does not define your career path when you ultimately finish the program. So as I mentioned, reach out to your advisors, HOD, and you may have to reach out to occupational mental health. I know the psychiatry team, Professor Abel, is open. His doors are open to us. And I know it's for medicine, but I'm sure it's open across the board to postgraduate colleagues, those who need help. If you're not coping well with the challenges in the program, and if you need guidance. And so what are my final takeaways? I'm now on the other side. I can say confidently that each of you have earned your spot. You deserve to be here. And you are the next generation of leaders in the English-speaking Caribbean and globally in your respective areas of expertise. And look after each other and remember to look after yourself. Welcome to the family, and I'm wishing you all of the greatest success. And I just have here a guiding principle for my own life, and I am a walking testimony that God doesn't bring you to something for you to fail. He's a faithful Father, and He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you. And I am leaving you with this photo of a firm dinner, one of my last times of being senior on my firm. This is Firm B General Medicine. I would say circa 2025, December. So there's room for you to enjoy yourself and laugh and get together outside of work. Okay. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share.
Thank you so much. And I love that picture. And I think it's 1,000 words. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
All right. So welcoming now Dr. Gordon White, who will give us her perspective.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just trying to share my screen. Okay, I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. Good afternoon again. Congratulations to our new residents on your acceptance to the various programs, and blessings for this new chapter ahead. First, I'll just give you a little background. I'm Dr. Anya Gordon-White, graduated class of 2017, and then did internship, SHO, a year of medical officer at KPH, and then jumped into the PATH program in 2020 in the midst of COVID. My personality type, well, I'm an immaculate girl, overachieving, have that type A personality locked, very hard on myself, and very serious about my academic goals. So here I'll start with my first point. So this is me entering my first day of work in 2020. I don't have to announce the elephant in the room. And of course, my face looks like OMG, taking on a lot here. What's gonna happen? So when I started prior to my pregnancy, I had a very clear picture of what residency was gonna be like, gonna be learning, gonna be happy, fulfilling my goals, working towards becoming a great pathologist, confidence. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned is that it rarely unfolds the way you expect it to. The rotation that you are most excited about, maybe the one that you enjoy the least, the specialty you thought you'd love so much and that you're most passionate, you thought you'd be passionate about, ends up being the one that you're not passionate about at all. Some weeks you feel incredibly capable, other weeks you've wondered if you've learned anything at all. It's a 5-year journey. Life does not stop. So the rest of your life does not stop. Things happen along the way. It's vastly different from at least my MBBS training, where there was no family, there was nothing to do, show up, study, work hard. It's different. You have a life outside of school, you have family, you have work. There's a steep learning curve. There's a lot of things to cover, a lot of new skills to garner, and the time and energy that you have just isn't the same. So the key is to have flexible expectations. Stay flexible. Don't measure your progress against the expectations you had before you started. Instead, be willing to adapt as you grow. Give yourself time to get up to speed. You're going to start these programs. The residents who have been there have been there. They've already learned so much. Give yourself some time. Adjust your expectations. Show up and do your best, knowing that this is going to look different every day. So, my next point is to be open to new experiences. So, across the programs, you're going to be on different firms. You're going to be at different sites. There are going to be different specialty rotations. You're going to have different consultants. And of course, the first thing that we're going to do is take up our phone and call our friend who did it already and say, how this go? How that person has stay? Tell me what a consultant tell. And at the end of the day, my advice here is to be open. See every experience as a new learning experience. Don't psych yourself out and end up missing out on what you can learn in that new environment because you're so already in your head about it and you've already decided what this is going to be like. So there's no room for anything else. Every rotation, every consultant, every patient is a different learning opportunity. Even the mistakes have something to teach you if you're open to it. Some of the most meaningful lessons and rewarding experiences come from the moments you didn't plan for, and they shape not only the person that you'll become as a doctor, they shape not only the doctor you become, but also the person that you become. Here I have some photos of myself and some of my colleagues at conferences. And another part of being open to other experiences is to seek out conferences, seek out elective opportunities overseas so that you can have that exposure. Be professional. So one thing I learned as well is that professionalism will take you much farther than trying to be liked. Of course, it's wonderful to build good relationships, and we're going to get to that, but your goal should never be to win everybody's approval. There will be times where you have to ask difficult questions. You're going to have to follow up on things that were overlooked by another colleague. You're going to have to speak up for patients or set boundaries. And not everybody is going to appreciate that. Professionalism sometimes means making decisions that are not popular in the moment, but are in the best interest of the patient. You'll also quickly realize that you can't control how everybody perceives you. Some people you're going to naturally vibe with, like, yeah, this consultant, I read them. But on the other hand, some people you won't vibe with, regardless of how hard you try. We have consultants that we sign up with in pathology that are hardcore. They want everything done, everything perfect, and it really rubs people the wrong way. But then you have some residents that appreciate that hardcore personality and like the push. So you never know what is going to work for you. If you spend your energy trying to make everybody like you, you're going to be exhausted trying to meet everyone's expectations. So instead, focus on being someone that people can trust, be reliable, be honest, be respectful, and show up prepared. Treat everyone with dignity from the porter to the consultant. At the end of your residency, people may not remember every conversation that you had with them, but they will remember that you were dependable, you were respectful, and you were professional. And in the long run, earning that respect is more valuable than being liked. Energy management and prioritization. So this goes far further than time management. That word was just too simple. Those words are just too simple for me to put on the slide. So residency is challenging. A lot of time and energy is needed. There's no two ways about it. Medical school trains you to study, and residents expect you to study while being a doctor, a colleague, a partner, a parent, a friend, and a whole functioning adult. Those are very different challenges. We're also getting older, guys. So the bounce back from a late night is much harder as the years go by. So here we want to put things in place. So family, caregivers, school, nannies, etc. Put what you need in place to give yourself the best shot at succeeding in this program. Don't wait for the perfect time to study or look after yourself. Make use of the small pockets of time that you have. While you're waiting for a meeting to start, grab a book, read a chapter, read an article. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. You don't have to learn and do everything on one day. What matters is being intentional with your time, protecting what matters most, and building habits that are going to sustain you for the entire journey. So start building your study habits. Also, plan ahead. This research project everybody's talking about, writing out the book that everybody's talking about, plan ahead, especially if you have family, you have parents to take care of, you have a lot of things to do. Plan ahead. Start thinking of your topic as your days are going by from you hit the ground running. Jot down your little cases that you're going to write up. Save information from the dockets that you need to write up your cases. Get your resources. Figure out who is going to help you with your project, who is a statistician. Get those things going from as early as possible. And learn on the go. Learn from your cases, learn from your slides, from whatever you're grossing, learn from your patients, learn from your ward rounds, your presentations. Because those things that you see and do every day, that's what you're going to remember in your exam, and that's what you're going to remember in your practice later in life. Build relationships. So these are my friends and colleagues in pathology. The photo to the left is our SHO, who is helping me to collect data for my project. Residency can be very demanding, and you can't do it alone. The people around you make the journey manageable. The residents are experiencing similar challenges, and you guys all have to be there for each other. Whether it's an ill parent, whether you're sick yourself, your child needs you, you have sports day, you have prize giving, you have this, you have that. These are the people who are going to have your back. They're going to cover for you. You cannot do this alone. And it doesn't stop there. Build relationships with everybody you work with. Get to know your nurses, your lab staff, your clerks, your administrative team, everybody that plays a role in patient care. Everybody has something to teach you, and these are the same persons that you're going to be in communication with, who are going to be your colleagues when you finish the program. Also, seek out mentors and stay in touch. A good mentor can influence your career long after your residency training. Even right now that I'm finished, I'm calling the consultants that I'm closer to. Help me with this, help me with that, how I apply for a job, da 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 da. So please build relationships. It's so important. Protect your well-being. So you cannot consistently provide the best care for your patients if you are running on E. Have a life outside of work. This is your career. It's a part of you. It's not the sum of who you are. And that balance will give you perspective. Going back to something other than work helps, especially when the criticism starts to come, the bad days, the hard days, which are going to come. None of us are perfect. Recognize when you need support. And I'm so happy that we've talked extensively about the support that the faculty has made available. So recognize when you need that support and figure out what's your anchor. What is your anchor? Is it your faith? What is it? Figure that out early and hold tight to it. So what's the sauce? Expectations that don't match reality. Learning that professionalism matters more than approval. Realizing that residency isn't just studying, it's balancing an entire life. Understanding that the people around you make the journey bearable, and remembering to protect yourself along the way. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Dr. Gordon White. I think we could all have learned from your presentation. And again, congratulations. Okay, so thank you. We're going to move ahead now. And Mrs. Stuart McCoy, I think she must be a little mindful when I say she's such a friend of graduate studies in FMS, because she has assisted us immensely over the last 2 years. And today she comes to us. Mrs. McCoy is a member of the Instructional Development Unit of the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning at the UWI Mona. She's a trained educator who specializes in using 21st century technologies to aid faculty deliver hybrid and online courses, develop workshops, seminars, and courses using innovative technologies and strategies to engage faculty. She's here today because, as I mentioned before, AI is upon us, and it's not anything that we should fear. We must incorporate it, but we do have a duty to use AI responsibly. And so we have invited Mrs. Stuart McCoy to speak to us on the responsible use of AI in graduate studies. So I want to heartily welcome her, thank her for agreeing to do this, and just invite her to make her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm just pulling up my screen so that you can see. Right. So thanks again, ladies, and let me join, ladies and gentlemen, and let me join our colleagues in saying congratulations on this milestone and welcome to this momentous leg of your academic journey. One of the things that I want to say very quickly is that I trust that you have been getting up from time to time. We started at 2 and we have been going nonstop. So I trust that you've been getting up. I trust that you have been looking away from the monitor every now and again, and that you're keeping yourself hydrated. Now, I have a few disclaimers. One, I am not a medical expert, so if there's something that I have there that looks very wrong, please let me know. 2, I'm using 2 screens. My presentation is on the second monitor. So if you see me look away every now and again, that's because I'm looking at the second monitor. And the third thing that I'd like to say, I'm looking at responsible use of AI in graduate studies, and I'd like to disclaim that the images that are used in these presentations are from Magnific, formerly FreePic, and they are largely AI generations. All right, so what I am doing with us today is preparing you or helping you or talking to you about where the AI stands. And the reflections that you just heard, I thought that there were very useful lessons that will help you to navigate very expertly this journey that you're on and to help you reach the end successfully. My job right now is to talk to us about the role of generative artificial intelligence, and I'll refer to it as generative AI or Gen AI going forward. So my job is to look at the role of AI, Gen AI, in that journey. And I'm not going to be talking about what generative AI is, what types exist, because I'm sure you could teach me a thing or two, even though this is an area that I've been exploring. What we're talking about today is how to use it responsibly. So we're not going to be naming any of the tools. There are more than we can probably think about right now. We're going to be looking at how to develop good judgment when we are using this tool, whichever tool it is. And if we think about it, that's exactly what it is. It's a tool. It's just another tool. And it can be an extraordinary partner if we allow it. It can also be a shortcut that undermines your education at this level. And you have heard what to expect, what not to expect, what to do, what not to do. And so we're going to spend just a few minutes talking about when to use it, how to use it. We're going to be talking a little bit about what the consequences look like, the ramifications look like, if we lean into this tool too early or if we lean into it too often. Okay, so we're going to be looking at how it may jeopardize the skill set, the knowledge that you're supposed to be learning in this program today. All right, now we talk about, and I'm sure you've heard it all the time, responsible use of AI, responsible use of AI. But what exactly do we mean when we say responsible use of AI? If we can think of some terms, responsible use of AI would be things like using it honestly, transparently, critically, safely, and without replacing our own judgment. Putting it in simple terms, it is basically just saying it is using generative AI to support our thinking. And when I use the word our, I'm using it very loosely. I am not a medical person, but using it to support our thinking while we are checking out the output for accuracy, while we are protecting confidential and personal information, while we're being honest about when we use it, how we use it, and staying accountable for the results that we get and that we submit to our supervisors. Now, if we think about this a little bit more, there are several things that we can highlight, we can look out for, we can explore. And the first one is that generative AI should be assisting the thinking process. So it should not be replacing it in any way. If you think about what your education at this level is trying to develop, it goes more than just content growth and expansion. It is really about your ability to analyze evidence, to evaluate competing ideas, to identify certain limitations, to construct good arguments. Prof. Plummer talked about the research aspect, to interpret the findings that you find. And these are human intellectual activities. The AI can help to support these processes, not to replace them. So, for example, we may want to ask a Gen AI tool to explain a complex statistical method before we actually read the journal article. We may want to ask it to suggest keywords for a database search if you have to be searching for information. We may want to ask it to generate some practice Viva questions. That's one of the things that I did when I did my Viva. And all of these are very good use. Some people will tell you that these are excellent use of the AI. But the moment that the AI begins to do the analysis for you, the moment the AI starts writing your discussions or interpret your results for you, something human, something academic, something scholarly has been lost. So you have removed yourself from that learning process. And so we need to ask ourselves each time we're going to use AI, because you may have heard that some of the courses will allow you to use AI. There are different course policies that will tell you the extent to which you can use AI, or if you are not supposed to use it. But if you're going to be using artificial intelligence in any way, you need to ask yourself, is this tool and the way I'm using it helping me to think more deeply, or is it allowing me to think less? And if you find that the answer is that it is helping you to think less, it means that you have to use your faculties a little more. All right, so the AI should assist us. The second thing is that we should verify everything. One of the misconceptions that I'm sure you have heard about generative AI is that it can be very confident. And I remember talking to somebody earlier this week, and she was explaining, and she was loud, and somebody said wrong and strong. And so the AI can be just like that. But what we need to remember and remind ourselves is that confidence does not mean accuracy. And so generative AI systems can, what it does is that it responds by predicting certain patterns. So it doesn't know whether something is true, and it doesn't know how to check if it is true. And that is why when we get some information, it's incorrect, but it's very convincing. And so you may have already in your former life, and I'm using that loosely, you may have already encountered that kind of reality. You may have seen some references that don't exist, don't care how much you look for them. You may have seen where some quotations are given, but the quotations do not exist, not in paper, not in real life. You may have statistics that have no sources whatsoever. So this is the hallucination that many persons talk about. And this is one of the largest dangers in taking work that is generated from AI and submitting it as is. And so we have to verify everything. Protect confidential information should not have come up as yet. And so we have to verify everything. So if the AI gives you a reference, make sure you go and find the original article. If it summarizes a paper for you, go and read the paper yourself. If it explains a concept to you, you double check it with what we call trusted sources, information that you can verify. Because in your field, in research and medicine, the verification aspect is a part of your professional practice. And so you have to verify everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Verify your lab results if you're using AI, verify the diagnosis if you're doing case studies, verify the evidence that you get, verify the references, verify the quotation, verify the source, verify everything. You can think of AI like a junior medical assistant. So the assistant is helpful, very jovial, convincing, creative, but you still have to double check everything that is done. And you have to look at your AI usage in that same light. The third point that I wanted to have here when we're talking about responsible AI use is the protection of confidential information. So as persons who are on this trajectory, you will find that being confidential is one of your professional obligations. And so this kind of responsibility does not disappear when you start to use AI, if you use AI. So you want to think about a case that you may have, and you want to develop a writing reflection, or you want to have some musings about the case. And so you copy the information about the patient and you paste it in Claude, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, any one of those generative AI. And if you have removed the patient's name, you need to ensure that you have removed everything that could identify the patient. So if you think about it, removing the name alone does not mean that you have removed all identifying markers. Have you removed the age of the patient? Have you removed the diagnosis, which may be rare? Have you removed the specific dates? Have you removed the name of the ward or the hospital or the clinic? Have you removed the location? So these are details that can still help to identify someone. And if you are going to be using generative AI responsibly, it means that you have to protect information such as this. So we should never upload any kind of information that has any kind of identifying marker about any of the patients that you'll be seeing, the clients that you will be working with, and so forth. So never ever upload that kind of information to the AI. And then you should never ever upload examination material that are not intended for public sharing. So what do you do in a case such as that? What you do is create an abstract of this scenario. You describe the issue without revealing any kind of identifying information. So what you need to remember as you go through, if you are faced with using AI to help you to develop your notes reflection about cases and so forth, you have to remember that the use of the AI does not and should never outweigh your ethical responsibilities. Okay. Now, another thing is our academic integrity. Your academic integrity still remains an important aspect of what it is we do. And again, I'm using we loosely. What we know is that AI has changed the tools that are available to us, but it hasn't changed our values of the scholarship. So things like values such as our honesty, transparency, originality, accountability, to name a few, these remain the same. Can we use AI to improve our grammar? That's a reasonable suggestion, recommendation. Can we use generative AI to brainstorm research question? Again, something that is reasonable. Can we use the AI to help us organize our ideas? Reasonable. Can we submit AI generated work as our own? This is where we start to cross that ethical line. And what I'm going to encourage us to do is to ensure that if you don't know what obtains in your course, you find out. Find out from your facilitators, your supervisor, what does the AI course policy for this course looks like? What am I expected to do? Am I expected to use any particular tools? What kind of evidence do you expect from me? So anything you don't know, you ask, because sometimes the line between poor judgment and misuse of AI is very thin. And so it is important for you to find out what is expected of you, and the finer details of what is expected of you. It is more important for us to be transparent about what we do than to keep our use of AI a secret, and then we realize that there are serious consequences that we have to deal with. And the final thing I want to point out here is that the human should remain center. So the medical field has always been about people, well, as is largely about people and people care. Generative AI can recognize patterns. It can summarize evidence. It can generate different diagnoses based on what we input. Some of the things that generative AI cannot do is that it cannot sit beside a bed, beside a frightened patient, a little girl who is about to get her blood drawn and she is terrified. Generative AI cannot do that. Generative AI cannot notice the hesitation when certain questions are posed to a client or to a patient. Generative AI cannot build the trust that you develop over a period of time with your clients, with your patients. It cannot exercise compassion. It does not know what empathy is. Clinical judgment involves so much more than just the information that a tool can spit out. So it involves things like ethics, it involves experience, it involves trial and error, it involves communication, context, empathy, and all that. These are human responsibilities. These are things that we have to keep going. We have to value, we have to showcase, we have to highlight. And we're not saying that AI, generative AI, isn't a part of healthcare, because we're surrounded by this. We hear the news, we know exactly what is going on. What we want to say is that as generative AI become more common in healthcare, the human qualities that I mentioned before become even more valuable. Technology is just a tool, and like any other tool, it should strengthen our practice. It should never at any point have us questioning our humanity or have us look in a mirror and see that our humanity is waning. That should never happen. Okay. Now, I just want to, and you'll realize that there are some things that I come back to, because education for me is about revising, revisitation, re-entry. And so I want us to look at, just listen a little bit about the whole matter of developing differential diagnoses and skills. And I want to admit that I had to do a little bit of research about what exactly this is. So bear with me, please. And so the whole idea of differential diagnosis isn't something that you can get from an AI. It is something that you have to sit with. It is something that you build over a period of time. It's a case that is not quite clear because you have to be working through it, and sometimes you fail. I think one of our recently graduated doctors said that sometimes you fail, and you fail badly, but the whole point is that you keep at it and you keep getting better, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And this is not simply oh, it's nice to be able to do something like that. It is an indelible part of your training. And so if you have a tool that simply gives you what the differential is before you attempt it on your own, that skill becomes something that is bypassed, is skipped over. And that is a dangerous practice, because it may not feel like a loss in the moment, but when you are called in, say 3 o'clock in the morning, when you don't have your AI tool to jump to or to consult, then you will realize that you have not developed these skills, and then you'll realize that you are in trouble. So take some time to ensure that you go through that process, you go through the struggle. Learning is a struggle. So ensure that you go through the struggle without the tool first. Develop the skills, do the thinking out, do the mapping, and then you consult where you have doubts, if you need to consult any at all. All right, so this is one thing that I wanted to do. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is something that Prof. Plummer had mentioned, the whole matter of the research element. So when we write a literature review for ourselves, we have to sort of figure out what exactly we want to do, how we want to do it, why we're selecting this particular methodology, which papers are we going to use, how are we going to synthesize them, which ones fit together. So this kind of understanding is something that, again, comes with practice. It strengthens as you write, as you draft, as you realize that you have made some errors, you go back, you fix it. That is a process. When we simply give this kind of work to the AI, and the AI writes the draft before we start doing anything else, again, we have given away something that we should be building, something that the program that you're in requires you to develop. So what we're saying here is that in this program, you will realize that there are skill sets, there are knowledge bases, there are processes that you have to engage in without using the AI or consulting the AI after. So there is a saying that you can't go to the gym to build muscle and just simply watch somebody working out. The same thing happens with generative AI. If we find ourselves that outsourcing the thinking process, outsourcing or development of our skill sets without us going through that process ourselves, then we realize that we have become dependent. We have leaned into this tool a little bit too much and a little too often. And if you think about it, what we need to do in a medical degree, in a medical postgraduate degree, is to think about the skills that we're here to build, the connections we're here to make, the processes that we're here to go through. And so if we're doing a shortcut, it means that we're skipping out on this training. We're missing out on the training, we're skipping the training altogether. So there are three areas that I want to talk about, possibly risks of using when we outsource to AI. And the first one has to do with the skills. All right. Now, the skills that we develop need friction. What do I mean by that? Diagnostic reasoning, careful statistical judgment, being able to write a convincing argument. None of that comes from reading a correct answer that an AI tool has given us. It comes from attempting something ourselves. It comes from getting it wrong. It comes from connecting it. And I think I mentioned this before. It's a struggle. You get it right. There's a saying, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. And so it's a matter of ensuring that we fail, we get up, we brush off the dust, we ball if we need to ball, and then we try again. That struggle is the effort that we need in our program. And so we cannot take away that struggle too early. The first attempt doesn't mean that we run to a generative tool which can spit it out in no time. Okay, we have to go through the process, especially the area that you're in. The second thing is that sometimes the cost of what we do is invisible until it isn't. What do I mean on that? It means that if we lean in too early and too often on generative AI to get our degree, we won't notice that something is significantly missing until the tool is no longer available to us. It's an addiction if you think about it in that same way. And so we won't realize what it is costing us, what we are losing, until we don't have the tool at all at our disposal. And then you'll realize that you can't tell what the ticks are, what the characteristics, the features are of an important diagnosis that you have to do. You can't tell what the issues are, whatever. Again, I'm not an expert, but you won't realize what is missing until you don't have a laptop or a phone that you can simply go and go to your AI tool to give you the answer. So the cost of what we lose is invisible and works very well until it doesn't. And then the third one is the matter of order. So here at the university, here in your faculty, the discussion of banning AI has become stale. It is no longer something that is up for discussion. What we want to tell you is that it's not about not using any of these tools whatsoever. That would be ridiculous, because we have heard, the literature tells us about all the potential, the advantages of different generative AI tools that can help us in our academic journey. What we're trying to say is that the order of how we use the tool is going to be key. So we need to go through the differentials first. We have to write the paper draft first. We have to brainstorm, mind map, make jottings of everything first. And then if we find that the AI can help us to improve on what we have done, to help us interrogate what we have done, then we use it. We can use it then to check the codes that we have written. We can use it to double check to see if the grammar is okay. We can use it to see if the formula, if the equation that we have makes sense. We can use it to question our paper, ask it to help us with some questions so that you can practice responding. So these are some of the things that we have to remember. It is not a matter of banning it. It is not a matter of saying you cannot use it. It's a matter of how we use it, where we place it, and it should always come after. Remember, it's about helping us. It is not doing the work for us. And so when we think about the use of these tools, we need to think about a few other things. So we need to think about some questions. We should ask ourselves, is this ethical? Am I crossing a line here? If I am, what is the line and how do I correct this? We should ask ourselves, is the information that I'm looking at from this tool, is it correct? If do I have any doubts? I'm looking at it and it seems to be a little bit too smooth, a little bit too polished. Anytime that they say when in doubt, don't. So anyhow you feel that something may be off, then you double check, you go back to the sources and so forth. You need to ask yourself, given the field that I'm in, am I putting any kind of confidential information up? And remember that confidential information is not simply the person's name. Think about the age, think about the particular diagnosis, think about the dates that the person have been coming to see you. Think about the location. So these are some of the things that we need to think about. And it's not just about, oh, it's a case number, nothing else. We have to ensure that there is no identifying marker. So ask yourself, is there anything at all that is confidential that would identify this case? And then, of course, ask yourself, can I defend this to my supervisor? If my supervisor says, okay, walk me through the process. How did you get here? Can you do so in an oral setting without having to go to your phone and double check? And then ask yourself, am I still doing the thinking? If you find that you are not thinking, you're simply accepting a response, then it means that we're not using the AI tools responsibly. There is something that I tend to use with other units that I meet with, and I say, do the TDL test. So anytime you find yourself with preparing a case, doing an assignment, doing your research, do the TDL. So T is for transparency. So ask yourself, am I comfortable letting my supervisor, my lecturer, my boss know exactly how I use the AI for this? Okay, if the answer is no, that's the first sign that something was not done well. It was not done ethically, responsibly. Okay, if you're not sure, then that is signal to go back and look to see if this is something that you can be transparent about. Anybody can know how you use the AI and what you use the AI to do. The D in TDL is defense, and it's right here. Can you explain your work? If somebody calls on you and in class, in a session, in a case, bedside case, can you defend it? Can you explain? Can you interrogate? Can you argue? Can you explain? Can you justify? If you can't do any of these things, it means that you're not using the tools responsibly. And then the last thing is the learning. All right, you are in a teaching and learning experience. You're in an academic institution. You're still learning. You're on another trajectory. And so you should ask yourself, the task that was given to me by the program, by the course, by my facilitator, given the learning outcomes, the objectives, did I learn anything? What have I learned? And so you have to ask yourself, Is the learning there? What did I learn? How much did I learn? Can I explain it to somebody else if they ask me to do so? So, and for all these 3 points, the transparency, the defense, and the learning, your response has to be yes. If there is a no for any of them, it means that you have to go back and look at how you're using the AI, whether or not you're using it ethically, whether or not you're using your brain cells first, whether or not you're doing the work first, and then using the AI to assist. So I'm just going to wrap this up with one last thing. When we talk about responsible AI, it is not so much about avoiding the technology. It's not about banning the technology any at all. When we talk about responsible use of AI, we are talking about developing good judgment. And when we talk about good judgment in using the AI, what we simply mean is, why do we use it? When do we use it? How do we use it? And when not to use it. So you have been armed with a number of tips from all your presenters, and the last two, which look at the reflections, for me are the most powerful because they're talking about these experiences. The use of AI can help you to cement all of that so that you can come out successfully, but you have to ensure that it is responsible use. It is something that shows honesty, shows transparency, shows ethical consideration, ensures that you can, no qualms about explaining how you use the AI, ensuring that you can explain what it is you do, and that you have learned the skill, you have mastered the drafting process, the brainstorming, the research writing, and that if you reach that stage, my hat's off to you, and I would say, well done. So I just want to say thank you very much. And I do hope that if you use AI, that you use it responsibly.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Stewart McCoy. And, just thanks for wrapping everything up in the advice on the use of AI. I personally feel that there's no way getting around it. And it does have its advantages. But as graduate students, supervisors, and we have to uphold the integrity of the work we do and our institution or departments and the work, we just must use it responsibly. So thank you so much for bringing this presentation to us. We started at 4 o'clock and it's now 6:27. But I do believe this has been a well-spent afternoon. Before we close, I just want to acknowledge the presence of Miss Jody Park. She's one of our 2 liaisons in the Office for Graduate Studies and Research. Miss Kenisha Walker is the other. And our assistant registrar is Georgia Bennett, who could not be here today. So I just want to welcome Ms. Park and thank her for having spent the afternoon with us. I've checked the question and answer, and the only question I've seen is, will this recording of the session be available to us? And it certainly will. So I know some members had to sign off a bit early. We know you have all your responsibilities, but certainly we'll make this recording available to you. And so at this time, it's just left for me to thank all of you for attending. It means that we see the commitment to your program, to approaching your program with an air of excellence. And I think this has been a good start. We thank you for your attendance. I want to thank all our presenters who I think have helped us to sort of encapsulate, just the 360 degrees of the whole graduate student process, starting from, just knowing what's in, what's what to do, what not to do. But more importantly, I find the reflections of persons who have done it before really helps to know that we, the faculty, recognizes the need for continued support. I think that's important to help you to meet your goals and to do so responsibly. So I thank all our presenters. We have some behind the scenes personnel who have been integral to this. There are Mrs. Laura Lee Lewis and Miss Yannick Brown, or secretaries in the faculty graduate deputy dean's office for graduate studies. So we thank them for all that has been put in to make this program a success. And we just want to wish all of you a very successful journey and a pleasant evening. We want you to hold us accountable. We want you to visit us. And we can't say too much, but we continue to work on supporting you towards a successful journey on time through this process. So you will hear more from us later on in the semester and throughout the course of the year. But please, when we reach out, I hope you will be as responsive to attend any offerings that we can offer to you, but also to reach out to us to let us know how we can serve you better. But many, many thanks to everyone, and have yourselves a good evening. Thank you.